Hello learners, my name is Amit Kumar. I am Assistant Professor in Department of Commerce of Maharaja Agrisena College, University of Delhi. So today we shall discuss chapter name Residential Status and Tax Liability. So you have already learned basics of income tax, some basic definition. Now we shall discuss about residential status and tax liability. So according to section 4 of the Income Tax Act 1961, income tax is to be charged on the income of the previous year of a person at the rate fixed for the assessment year immediately following the previous year by the Annual Finance Act passed by Parliament. So the income tax liability and the income which is taxable for a person will depend upon residential status. So it is important to calculate the residential status to find out whether income is taxable for the person or not. So the tax liability of a person is determined on the basis of her residence in India in the previous year. So first of all, we shall discuss about the residential status of individual and Hindu undivided family. The residential status of different person can be as follows. First, we shall discuss about individual / HUF. The individual / Hindu undivided family can be resident in India or they can be non-resident in India. If HUF and individual is resident in India, then they can further be classified into resident and ordinary resident in India, which is known as ROR, resident but not an ordinary resident in India, which is known as NOR, and individual deemed to be resident of India. All other person can only be resident in India or non-resident in India. So please keep in mind that only individual and HUF is classified into ROR and NOR, but all other person will be either they will be resident in India or non-resident in India. Now we shall discuss about residential status of an individual. Residential status of an individual is defined under section 6, subsection 1. So an individual shall be resident of India if he / she satisfies any one of the following two basic conditions. So there are two basic conditions for the residential status of an individual. If individual satisfy any one of the two basic conditions, then he / she shall be regarded as residential resident in India. So the first basic condition is individual stay in India must be greater than or equal to 182 days during the relevant previous year. Or the second basic condition is stay in India should be greater than or equal to 60 days during the relevant previous year, and stay in India should be greater than or equal to 365 days or more during the 4 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year. So this is important to note down that in second basic condition, we have two conditions. The first condition is that stay in India should be greater than or equal to 362 days during the relevant previous year, and stay in India should be greater than or equal to 365 days or more during 4 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year. So if individuals satisfy any one of the two basic conditions, then individual shall be regarded as resident in India. So there are some exceptions to the second basic condition of section 6, subsection 1. So exception number 1, in case of an individual being citizen of India, if he leaves India during the previous year as a member of the crew of an Indian ship or for the purpose of employment outside India, then he / she shall fulfill the basic condition number 1 only, where he / she is in India for at least 182 days instead of 60 days. Exception number 2, in case of an individual who is a citizen of India or a person of Indian origin, if he is already outside India and comes on a visit to India during the previous year, he shall fulfill the basic condition number 1 when he is in India for at least 182 days instead of 60 days. Exception number 3, in case of an individual who is a citizen of India or a person of Indian origin being outside India, now comes to India and his total income other than income from foreign sources during the relevant previous year exceeds rupees 50 lakh, then 60 days shall be taken as 120 days. So these were the three exceptions to the basic condition number 2. Now it is important to find out who is person of Indian origin. The person of Indian origin is defined under section 115 capital C clause E. So an individual is deemed to be of Indian origin if she or either of her parents or any of her grandparents was born in undivided India. The grandparents can be both maternal and paternal grandparents. So if individual becomes resident in India, then we will have to find out whether individual is resident or ordinary resident in India or not an ordinary resident in India. For this, individual will have to satisfy both of the additional conditions which is defined under section 6, subsection 6, clause A. So the first additional condition is if she has been resident in India for at least 2 out of the 10 years immediately preceding the previous year. So additional condition number first says that individual should be resident in India out of 10 years immediately preceding the previous year. So 2 residential status is important. Second additional condition, if she has been in India for a period of 730 days or more during 7 years immediately preceding the previous year. So explanation to section 6, subsection 1, clause A. If individual satisfies both the additional condition, then she shall be regarded as resident and ordinary resident of India. So both the additional condition must be satisfied. If individual satisfies only one additional condition or does not satisfy any of the additional condition, then she shall be regarded as resident but not an ordinary resident. Now, who shall be regarded as non-resident of India? It is defined under section 2, subsection 30. If an individual does not satisfy any of the 2 basic conditions of section 6, subsection 1, then he or she shall be regarded as non-resident of India. That means NRI. In that previous year, whether she satisfies one or both of additional condition of section 6, subsection 6, clause E. So it was the residential status of individual. Now we shall discuss one question which is related to residential status of individual. So Mr. Varun is citizen of USA. During the previous year 2020-21, he came to India for 80 days. Determine his residential status for assessment year 2021-22 on the assumption that during the previous years 2006-7 to 2020-21, he was in India as follows. So this is the data which is given in the table regarding his stay in India during previous years. Now we shall find out whether Mr. Varun is resident in India or not. So Mr. Varun is a foreign citizen, not being a person of Indian origin. So exceptional case will not apply. He is not covered by exception case number 1 or 2 or 3. His stay in India for previous year 2021 is 80 days and he was in India for 376 days during 4 years preceding the previous year. So he has satisfied basic condition number B, so he will become resident in India. So he is not satisfying basic condition number 1, but he is satisfying basic condition number 2 because his stay in the current previous year is 80 days and during last 4 previous years his stay is in India 376 days. So he shall become resident in India. Now we will find out whether he is ROR or NOR. Now let's find out whether Mr. Varun is ROR or NOR. So we will find out the residential status of last 10 previous years. In the previous year 2019-20, his stay in India is 110 days. But during 4 previous year, his stay in India is less than 365 days. So he is not satisfying basic condition number A and basic condition number B. So he is non-resident for the previous year 2019-2020. Now come to previous year 2018-19. In the previous year 2018-19, his stay in India is 90 days and during 4 previous years, his stay in India is less than 365 days. So he is not satisfying any of the basic condition. So he shall become non-resident in the previous year 2018-2019. Now come to the previous year 2017-18. In the previous year 2017-18, his stay in India is 60 days and in the last 4 previous years, his stay in India is less than 365 days. So he is non-resident for the previous year 2017-2018. Now come to the previous year 2016-2017. His stay in India 116 days in the current previous year, and in the last 4 years his stay in India is greater than 365 days. So he is satisfying basic condition number B. So he will become the resident in India for the previous year 2016 and 2017. Now come to the previous year 2015-16. In the previous year 15-16, his stay in India is 90 days. And in the last 4 previous years, his stay in India is greater than 365 days. So he is satisfying condition number B. He will become resident in the previous year 2015-2016. So additional condition number 1, Mr. Varun is resident in at least 2 previous years out of 10 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year. So Mr. Varun is satisfying additional condition number 1. Now come to additional condition number 2. Mr. Varun was present for 579 days in India during the 7 years preceding the relevant previous year. So Mr. Varun is not satisfying additional condition number 2. So Mr. Varun will become resident but not an ordinary resident. So Mr. Varun has satisfies one basic condition and one additional condition. Therefore, he shall be regarded as resident but not an ordinary resident. Now come to the residential status of Hindu undivided family, section 6, subsection 2. The residential status of an HUF depends on 2 factors. First, the location of control and management of its affairs, and second, the residential status of its karta. A HUF shall be regarded as resident in India if control and management of its affairs is wholly or partially situated in India. So if control and management of the HUF is situated in India wholly or partially, then HUF shall become resident in India. A Hindu undivided family is non-resident in India if control and management of its affairs is wholly situated outside India. So for the residential status of HUF, you will have to find out the control and management of its affairs. Next additional condition, section 6, subsection 6, clause B. A resident Hindu undivided family shall be resident and ordinary resident in India if karta of the family satisfies following 2 additional conditions. So the first additional condition is if karta has been resident in India for at least 2 out of the 10 years immediately preceding the previous year, and karta has been in India for a period of 730 days or more during 7 years immediately preceding the previous year. So to find out whether HUF is ROR or NOR, you will have to check the data of karta regarding stay in India. Now residential status of partnership firm, AUP, BOI, it is defined in section 6, subsection 2. Firms and other association of persons can fall under 2 categories only. They may either be resident or non-resident. The category of non-ordinary residents does not apply to such SSAs. So, firm AUP BOI will be resident in India. So, according to section 6, subsection 2, a firm or other association of person is said to be resident in India if in any previous year where during that year the control and management of its affairs is partially or wholly situated in India. Firm AOP and BI will be non-resident. A firm or an association of person is said to be non-resident in such cases only where the control and management of its affairs is situated wholly outside India during the previous year. Now, residential status of company is defined under section 6, subsection 3. A company is said to be resident in India in a previous year if it is an Indian company. Second, the company is foreign company, but its place of effective management is in India. A company is said to be a non-resident in any previous year if it is not an Indian company and its place of effective management is not in India. Place of effective management means a place where key management and commercial decisions that are necessary for the conduct of the business of any entity as a whole are in substance made. Now, residential status of any other person, it is defined under section 6, subsection 4. Resident, every other person, local authority, artificial judicial person, for example, statutory corporation, is said to be resident in India in any previous year if the control and management of its affairs is partly or wholly situated in India. It shall be non-resident. Every other person is said to be non-resident if control and management of its affairs is situated wholly outside India. So these were the residential status of different person. Now come to scope of total income on the basis of residential status. So income earned by an individual, whether it is taxable in India or not, will depend upon the residential status of individual. So the scope of total income of an SSE depends on his/her residential status in the previous year. The provision explaining the scope of total income for the different categories of SSE is as follows. So we will find out whether income is taxable for ROR, NOR or NR. First, income received or deemed to be received in India, whether earned in India or elsewhere, then it will be taxable for NOR, NOR and NR. Income which accrues or arise or is deemed to accrue or arise in India during the previous year, whether received in India or elsewhere, it will be taxable for all type of residential status, whether ROR, ROR, NOR or NR. Income which accrues or arise outside India and received outside India from a business controlled from India, then it will be taxable for ROR, NOR, but it will not be taxable for NR. Income which accrues or arise outside India and received outside India in the previous year from any other source, then it will be taxable for ROR only. It will not be taxable for NOR and NR. Income which accrues or arise outside India and received outside India during the previous year, preceding the previous year and remitted to India during the current previous year, it will not be taxable for any type of residential status, whether ROR, NOR or NR. So some special provision for interest, royalty and technical fees. So if interest is payable by government, then it shall always be deemed to accrue or arise in India. If it is payable by Indian resident, it shall always be deemed to accrue or arise in India, except if payer has borrowed the money and used it for business or professional outside India. If payer has borrowed money for making or earning any income from any source outside India. If it is payable by non-resident of India, it shall be deemed to accrue or arise in India if debt incurred or money borrowed for business or profession inside India. Special provision for royalty. If royalty is paid by government, then it shall always be deemed to accrue or arise in India. If it is payable by Indian resident, it shall always be deemed to accrue or arise in India, except if royalty rights are used for business or profession outside India. If royalty is used for making or earning any income from any source outside India. If royalty is payable by non-resident of India, then it shall be deemed to accrue or arise in India if payment of royalty is related to a business or profession carried on by payer in India or earning any income in India. Technical fees. If technical fees is payable by government, then it shall always be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Payable by Indian resident, it shall always be deemed to accrue or arise in India, except if technical services are used for business or profession outside India. If technical services used for making of or earning any income from any source outside India. If technical fees is payable by non-resident, then it shall be deemed to accrue or arise in India if technical services are related to a business or profession carried on by payer in India or earning any income in India. Now let's discuss one question related to scope of total income. So Ms. Neha gives the following information in relation of income earned by her during previous year 2020-21. Royalty fees received by her outside India from Government of India 17,000. Income from business in Chandigarh controlled from Sri Lanka 2,10,000. Interest received from State Bank of India on fixed deposit amount 50,000. Pension received in New York for which services was rendered in India 80,000. Income received in London in the year 2018-19 and brought to India in the current previous year 1,20,000. Income from house property situated in India received in Tokyo 35,000. Profit from business in Germany and received in Germany 1,50,000. And business income from Mauritius controlled from Delhi 1,25,000. Compute the total income of Ms. Neha assuming that she is resident and ordinary resident. If Ms. Neha is not an ordinary resident or she is non-resident in India. So we have to find out the total income of Ms. Neha assuming that she is ROR and NOR and NR. Let's find out. So royalty received by her outside India from government of India. So it will be taxable for all type of residential status, whether ROR, NOR or NRI, because royalty given by paid by government of India, it shall be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Income from business in Chandigarh controlled from Sri Lanka. So this business is controlled from Chandigarh, so it shall be taxable for all ROR 2,10,000, NOR 2,10,000 and NRI. Third is interest received from State Bank of India on fixed deposit. So it is also an Indian income because source of income is situated in India. So it will be taxable for all ROR, NOR and NRI. Pension received in New York, income is received in New York for which services was rendered in India. So services was rendered in India. So it is an Indian income and it will be taxable for ROR, NOR and NRI. Next is income received in London in the year 2018-19 and brought to India in current previous year. So this is past untaxed income and it is brought in India during the current previous year. These are known as remittances. So remittances is not taxable in the current previous year. So it will not be taxable for ROR, NOR and NRI. Next, income from house property situated in India received in Tokyo. So income is received in Tokyo, but the house property was situated in India. So it will be regarded as Indian income. It will be taxable for ROR. It will be taxable for NOR and also for NRI. Next, profit from business in Germany and received in Germany. So income has source outside India. It is received outside India. It is a foreign income. So it will be taxable for ROR only because it is not from business which is situated in India. So it will not be taxable for NOR and it will not also be taxable for NRI. Last, business income from Mauritius controlled from Delhi. So this business is controlled from Delhi, but it is situated in Mauritius. So it will be taxable for ROR. It will be taxable for NOR, but it will not be taxable for NRI. So the total income, assuming that Miss Neha is ROR, shall be equal to 6,67,000. Assuming that she is NOR, it shall be equal to 5,17,000. If Miss Neha is NRI, then total income shall be equal to 3,92,000. So this was all about scope of total income. Okay. Thank you.